Hello and welcome to Inconversation. I'm Dinesh Verma filling in for Ramesh this week.
And I'm Sonya Gavankar.
Well, happy 4th of July, Sonya.
You beat me to it. Happy 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, America. It's finally, summer is here.
Yes.
After all that rain.
Yeah.
And lots to talk about, too. Speaking of rain, we have a really big lawn now because we moved. My husband and I just bought a house. So we have a giant lawn that has grown out of control because of the rain. And I'm keeping busy myself with the Miss DC pageant, which is next weekend. So if I look a little tired, it's because of moving, organizing, and pageantizing. What's new with you?
Well, we took a trip to Chicago recently. One of my cousins got married, and that was nice. We spent a few days there. And then Sonya was actually asked to perform at the wedding. So she hadn't danced in probably, 6 or 7 years since before Akash was born. So that was nice. It was good to see.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
So at the reception?
Yes.
Oh, that's very nice.
She did a dance at the reception.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot to cover in the news. I mean, there's technology, there's arts, and then there's Michael Jackson.
Yeah, you can't overlook that. I mean, last week, three big celebrities. Ed McMahon first, which I guess everybody kind of expected. He was ailing for a long time. Farrah Fawcett, poor Farrah, she lost her battle with cancer, which she actually documented, and then Farrah barely had 2 hours in the spotlight, and then Michael Jackson, the big one.
Michael Jackson is the shocker to me. I mean, like you said, Ed McMahon, Farrah Fawcett, both ailing, doesn't make it any less tragic. But Michael Jackson, I mean, I did not see that coming at all, and he was on a comeback tour that was supposed to, I believe, kick off in London in a couple of weeks. So he was really... It sounds like a lot of his friends and family are saying that he was really ready for that comeback and ready to pay off a lot of these bills that he had. He had millions of dollars worth of bills that he needs to pay. And it's just tragic to see somebody so young, so talented, pass away so soon.
Yeah, he had a bizarre life. I mean, we all remember hearing and seeing everything that's happened in the last 20 years in the media and how it's played out. And, I had some observations about his death. And the biggest one was... what happened to the revolution in Iran that was going on? That was all over the media before this happened. And I think the revolution kind of needed the media to help it continue, to help add fuel to the fire over there. Then this happened. Everybody turned their focus to Michael Jackson, and it almost brought the internet down. There were so many searches on Michael Jackson that day when the news started to break that he was taken to the hospital that traffic almost came to a halt.
That is shocking to me. So in a way, Michael Jackson is the same news content as what's coming out of Iran. I think that also goes to a lot of the critics that say that who are the people who are posting on Twitter and on the internet about the Iranian situation? Who are those people? And maybe it really is a lot of people more from outside of Iran than from inside, just by seeing how people are reacting to Michael Jackson. It's a surprise.
Yeah, he's one of the few people where you could actually put his silhouette up and people all over the world know exactly who it is. I think you can probably only say that about one or two other people, Elvis being one, and I can't think of any others.
It's the family of Michael Jackson that I think is really the surprising one here. Of course, the family is grieving right now. As many people saw at the BET Awards, Janet Jackson came up and gave a very heartfelt, emotional statement about how she was grieving and how the family was feeling. Personally, I was shocked at Joe Jackson, the father of Michael Jackson, on the red carpet, was interviewed on CNN, and to me, it was hugely inappropriate, talking about his upcoming record and his projects that are coming up. I know that in a situation like this, where a death may, be investigated, you can't make a lot of statements for legal reasons, but you can still say how emotional you are at the loss of your son and not say, well, I can't make a comment on that, but I can tell you about my upcoming record. I mean, that's bizarre. That is, I agree with you. That's in poor taste. And that lends credence to all the reports you heard over the years about how he treated the kids growing up and how he kind of forced them into this role in the Jackson 5. Well, Michael Jackson may have been forced into a role, but he was so talented, but so tortured at the same time. And, so many people talk about the issues with race that he may have had. Sounds like he did have some skin issues. I'm not really sure what the term is. Vitiligo, I think, is when your skin changes the tone of color. He had some problems with that, but major facial surgeries. But he always recreated himself, and he was an entertainer, I think, to the heart.
Yeah, that's right. I mentioned earlier about the internet traffic around the time of Michael Jackson's death and how the internet almost came to a halt. A lot of that was focused around Twitter, and there have been a lot of recent articles about Twitter and how it's changing the way that we teach, changing the way we live, changing the way we work, changing the way we buy things. One of the neatest things that I found out about Twitter, how it's being used in a university setting. For instance, college professors are now making Twitter a part of their lectures. So while they're giving their lecture, there's actually a screen up behind the lecturer, and the professor invites students to tweet messages and to tweet their thoughts about the lecture. So there's an interactive discussion that's going on during the lecture. There's a constant sharing of ideas. People are sending links to articles that they find interesting. There was another example about a conference that was recently held in New York City on how we can change education in the future. And originally they opened up a tweet blog to everybody who was attending the conference, and it was going up and people were tweeting in their thoughts, which have to be 140 words or less, about what's being discussed. Well, word got out that education was being discussed at this conference, and soon people from all over the country and all over the world started tweeting in their ideas about education and how they could make a difference. I really see the potential here for just adding so much to a discussion. I think it's just a part of our framework now. If it's not going to be Twitter, maybe it only hangs around for 2 or 3 years. It's going to be something else.
Well, I know as a moderator of discussions, there's nothing worse than the person who comes up to the microphone during the discussion who then gives a whole conversation on something totally off topic to only hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
So being limited to 140 characters really keeps the discussion on task when you have only that many characters to ask your questions. So that does definitely help.
And there are certain classes where the professors actually require students to tweet messages regarding films or books they've read to kind of generate this discussion back and forth.
I had a Twitter blog, and I don't update it very often because I like my Facebook status better. And if I could find an application that would link the two, I would be able to do more with both. And I'm just shocked that the two aren't linked up.
Well, mark my words, it's going to come soon, because people are developing apps for Twitter much like people are developing apps for the iPhone. And with Twitter, Facebook actually tried to buy Twitter recently. I don't know if you heard. They put up a $500 million offer to the founder of Twitter, which was turned down. So, you may see something in the works. I bet the fact that the two can't talk to one another has a lot to do with that.
That is a very good